You're sitting on a bucket in a shanty, or maybe you're huddled in a blind waiting for daybreak. Your fingers are stiff, your breath is visible, and the only thing that matters is whether that metal box next to you is going to fire up and keep you from freezing. You don't care about innovative engineering or synergies. You care about warmth. I've looked at the specs, read the complaints, and dug into what actual users are saying after a season of abuse. If you're stuck deciding between the classic Big Buddy and the upstart Heat Hog 18,000 BTU model, you're in the right place. Let's break this down properly. Heating performance. Let's start with the only thing that really counts. How well do they heat? Both of these units are rated for 18,000 BTUs on high. That's enough energy to heat a two-car garage, a large canvas tent, or a decent-sized cabin. But the way they deliver that heat is fundamentally different, and that changes everything about how you experience it. The Big Buddy is a brute. It uses two ceramic plaques to blast heat forward, but its secret weapon is the built-in blower fan. This fan, which runs on D batteries or an AC adapter, pushes that hot air out into the room. This is a big deal if you're trying to heat a space rather than just a person. If you're in a garage or a cabin, the Big Buddy acts like a miniature furnace, circulating warm air to raise the ambient temperature of the entire room eventually. The Heat Hog takes a different approach. It doesn't have a fan. Instead, it relies on what they call a curved plaque. The ceramic heating element is physically curved to throw heat in a wider arc, about 33% wider than the flat face of the Big Buddy. Here's the trade-off. The Big Buddy is better at managing the air temperature of a whole room because it physically moves the air. The Heat Hog is a pure radiant heater. It heats objects, that's you, rather than the air. Because of that curved face, it feels like a warm hug that wraps around you a bit more, rather than a spotlight of heat that cooks your shins while your shoulders freeze. If you are sitting directly in front of the heater, the Heat Hog feels more effective. If you are trying to warm up a workshop while you work in the corner, the Big Buddy's fan gives it the edge. Usability. This is where the Heat Hog really starts to throw punches. If you have ever used a Big Buddy, you know the drill. It sits on the floor and it blasts heat at the floor. If you are sitting in a chair, your knees and boots get roasted, but your upper body is still shivering. You end up trying to prop the heater up on milk crates or blocks of wood to get the heat where you actually need it, which is dangerous and annoying. The Heat Hog fixes this with one simple, brilliant feature. It tilts. You can physically angle the entire heating element upwards. It sounds simple, but in practice, it is a game changer. You can leave the heater safely on the floor and aim the heat right at your torso and hands. For ice fishermen or hunters sitting stationary for hours, this is huge. You aren't wasting half your BTUs heating the floorboards. You are directing the warmth exactly where your blood is getting cold. The Big Buddy is a fixed turret. It shoots straight ahead. You can't aim it. You have to move yourself or move the heater. In a small blind or a crowded shanty, that lack of adjustability is a genuine frustration that the Heat Hog solves completely. Fuel efficiency and cold weather performance. Propane has a nasty habit. When it gets cold, the pressure drops. If you are running a heater off those small green 1-pound cylinders in freezing temps, the tank gets icy, the pressure plummets, and your high setting starts to look a lot like low. You end up shaking the can or trying to warm it up with your hands just to squeeze the last bit of gas out. The Big Buddy tries to solve this with volume. It holds two 1-pound tanks inside the unit, giving you double the runtime before you have to swap. But it doesn't do anything to keep those tanks warm. If it's minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit, those tanks are going to struggle, and you'll leave fuel in the bottom of the can because there isn't enough pressure to push it out. The Heat Hog has a feature called a warming dock. It's a designated slot for the 1-pound cylinder that sits close enough to the heating element to absorb some residual warmth. It keeps the canister at a decent operating temperature, which keeps the pressure up. This means you burn effectively every drop of propane in the tank, even in bitter cold. It's a smart, passive solution. You aren't just getting heat, you are getting efficiency. You stop throwing away cylinders that are still 15% full. However, keep in mind the Big Buddy can easily hook up to a 20-pound tank with a hose and a filter. We'll get to that, which renders the 1-pound tank issue moot. The Heat Hog can also use a 20-pound tank, but its warming dock is a specific win for the mobile user who relies on the small green bottles. Reliability and build quality. Here is the elephant in the room. The Big Buddy has been around forever. We know its weak spot, the pilot light orifice. If you use a 20-pound tank with a high-pressure hose and don't use a fuel filter, oily plasticizers leach out of the hose and clog the pilot tube. Next thing you know, your heater won't light. It's a known issue, but it's also preventable if you buy the expensive Mr. Heater hose with the regulator or use a filter. Apart from that, the Big Buddy is a tank. It takes a beating and keeps working. The Heat Hog is newer, and the jury is still out on long-term durability. Early reviews have flagged some ignition quirks. Some users report the pilot light being finicky or the unit struggling to stay lit on the high setting in windy conditions. The plastic casing on the Hog feels a bit lighter, a bit less industrial than the chunky red shell of the Buddy. Also, let's talk about the handle. The Big Buddy has a fixed, molded handle. It's solid. The Heat Hog has a fold-down handle. It's better for packing, it makes the unit more compact for sleds and truck beds, but moving parts are always the first thing to break. If I'm 50 miles from civilization, I still trust the Big Buddy slightly more, just because I know exactly how to fix it if it breaks. Usually a Q-tip and some rubbing alcohol in the pilot tube. The Heat Hog is promising, but it hasn't earned that decade of survival badge yet. The verdict. So, which one goes in your cart? If you're looking for a permanent or semi-permanent heating solution, like for a garage, a workshop, or a large cabin where the heater sits in one spot, get the Big Buddy. The fan is the deciding factor here. Being able to circulate air makes a massive difference in heating a room evenly. Connect it to a 20-pound tank, put a filter on it, and you have a reliable furnace that will last for years. But if you are mobile, if you are dragging a sled onto the ice, hiking into a deer blind, or camping in a tent, get the Heat Hog. The tilt feature alone is worth the price of admission. Being able to aim the heat at your body instead of your boots changes the entire experience of sitting in the cold. The warming dock means you deal with fewer half-empty propane bottles, and the compact shape packs easier. The Big Buddy is the better room heater. The Heat Hog is the better personal heater. Be honest about what you're actually doing out there, and the choice is easy.